Good morning, fellow peregrinos. My name is Nancy Simpson. I am a clinical professor at Texas A&M University. My colleague, Chris Morley, and I walked the Camino with students 3 times, 500 miles, 3 times, from St. Jean Pied de Port to Santiago in 2014, 2016, and 2018. When we first had the idea, it was actually the movie The Way that inspired us. We loved the idea, and we thought, well, at the time our university was emphasizing high impact learning experiences, and we thought, what could be higher impact than walking 500 miles in unfamiliar country with people that you didn't know well at the beginning, and away from the comforts of home. We had a wonderfully supportive associate dean at the time, and we pitched the idea to her, and she said, go for it. So on one beautiful May morning in 2014, we found ourselves stepping out on our first steps on the Camino from that beautiful little town of St. Jean Pied de Port. When we first walked the Camino, I did not think about it as pilgrimage. In fact, it's really only recently that I have been thinking about it and reading about pilgrimage as a spiritual practice. So this opportunity, this 2020 Faculty Digital Camino, has been a wonderful time for me to reflect back on those 3 Caminos through the lens of pilgrimage. Spain is an absolutely gorgeous country. I found that it seeped into my soul. I often thought I could live here. That's what happens when you walk and you see it at 3 miles an hour, when you walk with the cows, when you walk through farms, vineyards, at that slow, simple pace. It just became a part of my soul. I think that pilgrimage might be a little bit like that. I think that this pace of walking and thinking and having opportunity for noticing and meditating is perhaps what can become for us a way that we live. As a matter of fact, when that first Camino and all 3 Caminos, I loved Spain, but what I really loved was the way that we lived. I loved the simplicity. I loved the gentle rhythm, gentle on my feet, but the gentle rhythm of each day, where we just got up, had our coffee, walked a couple of hours, stopped and had second breakfast, walked a few more hours, stopped and had lunch. It was just this, became a very familiar rhythm of what we did each day. It was simple, and the only productivity, if you will, that was required or expected was talking with students and soaking in the gorgeous beauty of Spain. And I often thought I could live like this. When reflecting with our students, we often talked about the Camino being a giant metaphor for life. And we challenged our students and ourselves to take the lessons that the Camino taught us forward with us into real life. So I'll share 3 of those lessons with you. So in 2014, when I look at my photos, I see and I'm reminded again of the beauty. And because when I first think about the Camino, those are the images that I think. I think gorgeous. I think, am I real? Am I really getting to walk through this? When I make myself stop and think, I can also remember that while I was standing there looking out or taking pictures of those gorgeous vistas, my feet hurt. In 2014, my feet hurt nearly all the time. That same wasn't true in 2016 and 2018 because I learned some things about shoes and about foot care. But in 2014, my feet hurt, my knees hurt. And so then I look at those pictures and I think, so which was really real? Was it the beauty or was it the pain? And the answer, of course, as we chatted with our students, we talked about this. The answer is both. Both are true simultaneously. And at any given time in our lives, as we walk in this world, being in the world and not of this world, we have a choice of what we will dwell on. Will we dwell on the beauty of all kinds that God brings into our life, or will we dwell on the pain and the hurt that we are feeling? They're both true. They're both real. And that's an important lesson or things to think about that I brought forward from 2014. In 2016, it was a different sort of memory that stayed with me. In 2016, I was looking ahead. I was looking forward to retirement. I had grown weary of the the unpleasant parts of being administrator. And I was looking forward to more time to call my own and to the joys of just being a professor. That year, on day two of the Camino, you're walking to a little town called Zubiri, and the path is mostly rocky. It requires a lot of concentration as you pick your way over the rocks. And I recall that as I was walking that day, toward the end in particular, when I was really tired, every time I picked my eyes up to look to see if Zubiri was around that next bend or just over that rise, every time I picked my eyes off the path and to look for Zubiri, I stumbled. And it was the grace of God and his angels that I didn't injure myself. I never fell, and I never sprained an ankle, but I always stumbled. And that caused me to think, even at the time, that where I was in life was like that. If I couldn't stop paying attention to the details of the administrative details just because I was weary of them and they were becoming unpleasant, any more than I could stop paying attention to those rocks and where I placed my feet. So the phrase that kept coming to me was, every step matters. In life, as on the Camino, every step matters. And I needed to do the work that I was called to do with care until the very end, which actually 4 years later, that has finally happened. I have stepped away from that administrative role. But 4 years, I needed to pay attention, and I needed to be mindful. In 2018, this is the last story that I'll tell. In 2018, one morning I was chatting, I was sitting on a bench, I forget which town, I can picture the albergue. I was sitting on a bench with one of our students, chatting, listening to him. We were both lacing up our shoes, getting ready to walk out for the day. He was wrestling. He was wrestling with relationships. He was wrestling with his relationship with his girlfriend, with his relationship with his parents, with his relationship with God, and honestly with his relationship with himself. And I was listening, and he was talking, and when he got up, he said, as he got up to leave, he said, "I know I am loved." And I said, "Yes, loved, and not just loved, you are lovable." And he nodded and walked off about his day, and I finished putting my shoes on and headed off walking. And I didn't see him to chat with him again that day. It was probably 1 or 2 days later when he sought me out to tell me how important those words had been to him, that he had thought about them all day, that he had had a long conversation with his parents, with his girlfriend about those words. This Camino, as I have that first week in particular, when we were focusing on the breath of God and our own breath, I started putting that together with that particular memory. And the verse that challenged me then, and continues to challenge me, and I will challenge us all with, is, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. Because I know that those words were not words that I spent a long time thinking about. I wasn't like a real careful analysis. I didn't necessarily feel I need to be wise right here. I need to give him words of wisdom. But the words just came to me and I spoke them. And what I am challenged with is to so saturate my mind, my heart, with the God-breathed words of Scripture, that when I speak from my heart, those are words that give grace and are what somebody else might need to hear. That I can be listening to the voice of the Spirit in my heart. So that's what challenged me from 2018 and this current 2020 pilgrimage. So a blessing as we start our walk this week. As you walk your path this week, may you behold beauty, hear and speak wisdom, and be held in the powerful and loving hand of our God, with each breath and with each step. Buen Camino.